Hello class, welcome to week 2. So you have your first week of your internet class down, and now we're on week 2. I don't know if any of you feel the way I feel, but just a little bit bummed today. I was hoping for some snow and possibly a nice relaxing day at home, because it's not like we just had a weekend or anything. But we're here, week 2, here we go. So this week you're going to be covering gender and cultural contexts and verbal and visual communication, which is a very important part of our learning experience when we're talking about communication. We don't understand how much our experiences shape how we see the world and how we communicate. And when we come from different experiences or different cultures, even if we reside in the same state or in the same town, sometimes that's where a lot of the miscommunication occurs. A good example I like to use is that we teach boys a certain way to behave, not to talk about feelings, to bottle it up, tough it up, the stereotype of how people raise their boys. And when we're raising girls, we teach them, if they cry, we ask them to talk about their feelings, to tell us what's happening, and we're going to make it better. And then when heterosexual couples end up living together or marrying or having any type of relationship, one of the things that most women and men argue about is she wants me to talk about my feelings, or he never talks about his feelings. And it was because of the way we were socialized into dealing with emotions as children. That's just one example of how something that we've been raised in and we've experienced and we've lived throughout has shaped how we see the world and how we view the world. So this is a very important part of learning how to communicate. You have a discussion question, and I'm going to pull it up right over here. So your discussion question this week, let me move it right here so I can actually read it. Your discussion question is, as we progress through the chapters in the book, we will examine the power of language, silence, and visual cues. I would like for you to examine and discuss the relationship between language and meaning, how this can often be misrepresented, misunderstood, or overlooked completely by those communicating. So what I mean by this is, think about the power of a word. You can think of any word, and what happens with that word? Do we breeze over it? Do we anticipate or think that certain people have the same meaning or emotion behind it? I like to use the word home when I'm doing this in an in-class lecture, and I ask students to start listing things that they associate with home, and usually it's warmth, security, comfort, love, all these positive emotions, which are great. That means that most of the students in my class at that moment in time have a positive association or have had a positive association with home. However, for many, home is stress, home is fear, home is pain, home is anxiety, home is violence. And so when we're thinking about that, we have to make sure that when we're wanting to communicate, that we take into consideration all the various denotative meanings or cognitive meanings associated with the word, so that we paint this exact picture, paint the same picture. So that's your discussion form. So I would like for you to think of a word or think of something like that, visually or verbally, emotionally, that we sometimes take for granted. And then chapter 3 is your chapter assignment, and it says, after reading chapter 3 and examining cultural and gender influences, explain the differences between high and low context culture and masculine and feminine styles of language. Then reflect upon your style of communication. Right off the bat, masculine is not male, feminine is not female. Make sure that you understand this concept. If you don't, please go to the questions for the professor section and ask me specific questions about how you don't get it. There is a continuum the way we communicate, masculine and feminine, and no matter if you're male or female, you exist somewhere on that continuum. So the masculine style of language has certain traits, aggressive, assertive, problem-solving. The feminine style of communication has certain traits, nurturing, understanding. And when we look at that, it depends on how you were raised. So for myself, if this is masculine and this is feminine, I reside right here. I'm a very high masculine communicator. I am not masculine. I am not a man. I am a woman. But I have a masculine style of communication. It has nothing to do with your sexuality. It has nothing to do with your sex. It has nothing to do with your gender. It's just the way you communicate. So in your examples, make sure that you don't go and start listing females always do this and males always do this, because that is just not the case. And then high and low context cultures. A great example of that is if you've ever left where you're from and you've moved somewhere else. You've moved from one to another. And I'm not going to give that one away. So make sure you've done your reading, and that's your discussion, that's your Dropbox assignment, which is due on Saturday. If you have any questions, let me know. Talk to you later. Bye.